Morning, and here we are again. Now I was doing some filming here earlier on. I'll explain that in a minute. So I decided, well, rather than hoof over to the studio and do more filming over there, I would probably film quite a few segments here this morning, and then trundle across to the studio this evening and do stuff over there. I have been spending quite a lot of time actually on my T1, which is in my lounge, which is just over there. I love my T1. I really do love my T1. I love the feel of the keyboard on my T1. So Bruce, yes, I'm still playing the T1. It's still there. Anyway, so for those of you who don't know, Bruce is one of you guys who subscribe to the channel, and I've built up quite a dialogue with Bruce, who lives in sunny California, whereas I live in miserable Surrey. And he is a complete T1 fanatic, and I can see why. He is a complete T1 fanatic. Anyway, move on. So when I started this morning putting together the script, and I do write a script, guys, there is stuff written down for what I rant and rave about. But what I tend to do in the week is I jot down ideas about what I might say on a Sunday, and then sort of Saturday and Sunday, when I've got sort of a little bit of free time, I normally sort of round those ideas off into readable bullet points. Now, the first thing that came to mind this morning was what I've called USB ergonomics, and the reason why that came to fruition this morning was because there have been a number of comments on the channel, either directly sent to me or comments against videos on the channel about my comments about USB devices and no independent power supplies. And again, I'm particularly referring to the boutique range of equipment, but there are a number of other devices out there that do exactly the same. You can either power them by batteries or you power them via the USB, but you have no option to power them via some sort of independent interface, i.e., plug in a 5-volt power supply. Now, there have been a number of comments on the channel along the lines of, what, guy, get over it. And what I've said, and I always say about the channel, is these are my views about the equipment. They're not anybody else's views, they're my views. I don't think Roland would take too much hints about what I'm saying. If I'm honest, they've already issued the equipment, but hopefully maybe something gets into future pieces of equipment. I did think when the SEO02 came along that maybe some of those words were starting to resonate, but alas, they hadn't. There were a number of comments, and they basically went, get over it. And I think what I needed to do was to sort of set my stall on the record straight and where I'm coming from. And I'm coming more from a technical perspective. I'm not coming from the perspective of being able to play these things. I'm coming from a technical perspective, and I'm also coming from a power perspective. So I decided to do a video this morning. Rather than do it a Sunday morning rant, I decided to do a video this morning about USB ergonomics. And hopefully that explains what I've been talking about, because I think it's a very difficult subject for some people to grasp if you're not really that way inclined. And everybody's brain is wired in a different way. So if you're not that way inclined, hopefully this is sort of explaining what I'm going on about. Anyway, I'm not going to touch on that anymore. I'm just going to leave that to one side. You can go and see the video. It'll be up in the week. In terms of the channel itself, I haven't really been monitoring the channel for a number of weeks because I've been ill, been away, etc. And what I did notice on the channel was there was a notice from YouTube this week about their imminent changes to the partner program, which I think is really interesting. So basically what YouTube have said is they're going to raise the bar for being in the partner program quite considerably. So up until this point, if you had 10,000 people view your content, you could apply for membership with their partner program. And their partner program gives you access to a number of facilities around video creation and tools around creation, etc. But it also allows you to monetize videos as well. But predominantly the reason why I like the partner program is because it's got access to tools, and you can use those tools to improve the channel, to work out, run things like analytics, so you can actually understand how the channel is faring, how different videos on different topics fare, that sort of thing. So anyway, YouTube are raising the bar quite considerably, from that sort of 10,000 views to 4,000 hours of content viewed and 1,000 subscribers. Now, I'm fine on the content, but subscribers, I'm quite a way short on the subscribers, which means I probably will leave the partner program. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing videos. I'm going to carry on doing videos because I actually really quite enjoy talking to myself, as it seems, and then seeing the content come back from you guys who are watching this stuff. And some of it, you know, sometimes I admit I get it wrong, but you know, that's purely because when I've done my research has indicated something, and somebody's come back and said, "Dude, that's not right." Well, you know, we all get it wrong. Can't get it right all the time. That's the way I look at it. Anyway, it leads me on to what I feel is going to be the detriment of a lot of small channels, because I think a lot of people who are trying to grow their channels and are doing content with the view to that channel might become a viable outlet in the future, are now going to be probably perturbed from growing those channels. And I'm thinking specifically of niche channels, because my channel I would see as quite a niche channel, but niche channels that are looking at specific things, and I think a lot of those channels will probably sort of wither and die now that Roland YouTube have done what they've done, and I think that's a real shame. Personally, I think it's all about corporate dollars. I think YouTube has the whole YouTube phenomenon and channel phenomenon has grown too rapidly for them to control, and in order to put the controls in place based on the current structure would probably cost them a lot of money, and I think they've just taken the option of raising the bar. Let's raise the bar because then we can strip a lot of this stuff out. So that's what I think is really behind it. No matter what everybody sort of says when you go and look at the videos, it's all about corporate dollars. And to be honest, this world is all about corporate dollars. So that's where I think we're going. But I do think it's a shame. I think it's a shame that they are cutting adrift people who are in the partner program because they don't quite meet the criteria. So Levy, I'm not going to say any more about that. Now, last week I said that this week I thought I had a surprise, and the answer is I think I did have a surprise, and it arrived. Actually, what actually happened was I had two surprises, and I'll explain why in a sec. Now, the first surprise, I'm just going to lean over here and get a box. Right, I've got a box. It arrived actually last week, so I knew it was there. I just didn't go and pick it up. But it arrived yesterday. I went and picked it up yesterday, and this is the surprise. Now, before I show you what this is, I'm going to tell you a bit about this. I have been after one of these for a very, very, very long time. I have not seen any come up for sale in the UK until recently, which is this one. I have seen examples of this come up for sale in Japan. I've seen one example of this in the last year come up for sale in the US. Okay, but I haven't seen a UK version of this. So I was quite rapt when it came up. I was quite rapt when I spoke to the guy and found out what was wrong with it or what the condition of the unit was, and that's what drove me to buy it, really. So, what is it? I'm going to bring my green box, which is a bit dusty, but yes, I have finally acquired a Roland MKS 20. So, if you don't know what an MKS 20 is, the MKS range, which I did on the rant a couple of weeks ago, well, probably a couple of months ago now, thinking about it. The MKS range of modules were effectively rack mount modules of the prime Roland equipment of the day. So the MKS20 is the piano module. It is the rack mount module of the Roland RD 1000 stage piano. Okay, which was their flagship, at the time, flagship stage piano. Cracking piece of kit, used by many musicians when they were out and about in the studio. Elton John, I'm pretty sure, used this and the RD 1000 on tour and in the studio when he was writing quite a lot of his music in the sort of probably late 80s, early 90s. I'm not quite sure when this one was actually issued. No, it doesn't say on the back. Anyway, and a number of other sort of relatively big names would have been using this sort of technology around that point in time. So I've been after one of these for a long while. It's come across. The previous owner was quite upfront and said it has a crackle on it when it's starting up, but after the startup and it's warmed up a bit, that crackle goes. So, you know, that sort of leads me to two things. It's either there's some dry joints in here, which should be relatively easy to find with a bit of luck, or there's something going on with the power supply and it's not quite doing what it's meant to be doing. So again, that can be sorted out. Now, the reason why I saw a really excellent version of this come up in Japan a little while back, and I was so tempted to buy it, but of course it was the standard Japanese 100 volt unit, and I've not been able to, from looking at the schematics on this thing, work out whether this is a multi-wound transformer or whether this is a single wound transformer. So what I mean by that is a Roland transformers are pretty bulletproof, to be honest. But what they tended to do in some of their equipment, some of their sort of flagship pieces of equipment, is they put what they call a multi-wind transformer, which basically means it's wound for different voltage regions in the world. So effectively you make one transformer, which is slightly more expensive than making a dedicated transformer for a particular market. So you make one transformer instead of making a transformer for the 100 volt market, the 110 volt market, and the 230, 240 volt market. So in the long run, actually, one transformer is cheaper than making three different distinct units. And then all they do is inside the unit itself, they just tap onto the appropriate windings. Now, in some synthesizers, you can just change the tapping, and it's fine. It's built that way. That's the way it was designed to work in the first place. In other synthesizers on the power circuitry, sometimes you have to change fuses and maybe a resistor or two to make the transition from one voltage zone to another. I couldn't work out. I knew in this you had to change the fuse, but I couldn't work out what else needs to be done. So I decided I wasn't going to go through that until I actually got sight of the internal circuitry of one of these things. So it literally came out of the box yesterday, as I said. If you go and look at my Instagram channel, you'll see a picture of the box. I'm not quite sure why the previous owner decided to send me this and half his wardrobe of polo shirts and stuff like that. I'm quite a big, broad guy, but this stuff was so big. I mean, it was huge. So all I did with that was I stuck it in a bag and took it down the charity shop so somebody else can benefit from it. And it came out of the box yesterday. It hasn't even been fired up yet. So that's how new it is. Just spin this around on its green box to the back, and you can see why this was for professional outlets. You've got the balanced outputs there. You've got the two outputs here. You've also got this high, medium, low for the gain on the output. Just an in and a through MIDI box. Now, some people say, well, where's the out? Well, actually think about it. What did this thing do? This thing you had a controller keyboard, you had MIDI coming into this, you had this producing sound. Why did it need an out? Why did it need an out? It doesn't. So why put an out on? And I quite often, I mean, you look at all the modern stuff, the modern boutique stuff from Roland, and on a lot of it, you don't need out ports. It's there to be a slave. It's not there to do anything else. This thing actually comes with a cartridge socket, so you can't do sysx dumps from it, but you can write patches to cartridges. So there you go. It was designed to do one thing and do one thing very well. That's what this thing was designed to do. So there you go. The MKS 20. I am really rapt about being able to possess one of these. So moving on. I said there was a surprise I knew about, which was that, and a surprise I didn't know about, which was this. So I'll give you the story behind this. A friend of mine who has more money than sense, I might add, and he knows I'll say that because he has more money than sense, purchased this some point last year. And it has not been out of the box. In fact, the first person to open the cellophane on this was me. And it came round the other night for a beer and some food. Although I'm on a diet at the moment, so my food, my eating habits are pretty sort of rabbit-like. But he came round and said, would you give it a good home? And we agreed a price, and I said I would. So I wasn't intending to go and buy any more equipment at the moment, purely because I've decided that I need to pay the solicitor's bills, otherwise they get very upset with me, rather than indulging myself in buying lots of useless keyboard equipment to satisfy my hobby and this channel. But this has arrived, so I'm going to be probably playing with this over the coming weeks. I'm not sure about it. I really am. I just don't, you know. It's sort of one of those things that I was thinking about, but I couldn't really justify. You know, the batteries are still in here. Look, the batteries are still in the cellophane wrapper. I mean, that's. So with the boutique series, I mean, I know I jumped in and I did buy the DO5, and to be honest, the DO5 is just such a joyful module to play with. I really enjoy playing with that. The sounds, you know, and the access to so many sounds is just brilliant, and I so enjoy that. And I bought the TR08 purely because I wanted something that replicated the 808 of yesteryear. But I didn't really have any plans to buy any more of the boutique series. If I was going to jump in and buy one more piece of the boutique series, the way I currently feel, I mean, I've changed my mind, but the way I currently feel would be the Jupiter module. But I'm pretty well informed that no bugger in the UK actually seems to have that in stock at the moment. So that sort of worked for me, if you like. It stops me from buying it. But this arrived, and it was a surprise. And I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. Still don't like the fact it works on USB power, but you know, it's different kettle of fish. Anyway, that's 12:06. It's no longer Sunday morning, so I'm going to end the Sunday morning rant. Take care till next time. Bye bye. So this is the point in the video where I turn around to you and say, if you enjoyed the contents of this video, please give it a thumbs up. It allows other people to find this content more easily that you have enjoyed. I'm sure by now, if you didn't like the content of the video, you've probably given me a thumbs down, but I'd prefer if you didn't. If you'd like to be notified about when I post additional content to this channel, somewhere about here should be the subscription icon. So please click on there and subscribe to the channel. Over here should be other content that you may enjoy that I've already done or posted to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again.